Welcome back to the Ross Bolen podcast. You can probably guess my name. We didn't really have to do this episode today, but you know what? I'm just in one of those talkative moods, and I felt like I wanted to come into the studio and just get real silly with it today. So, I mean, I had a week, man, a real fucked up week, a wild week. But really, there have been like 7 instances this year where I thought, okay, like surely that was the end of the pretty severe turbulence that has been going on relatively nonstop in my life for legitimately 5 years now. Most recent incident probably being finding out my wife was pregnant a month after we got married. It was on purpose, by the way. We're not just insane. We are purposefully insane. And yet that was not the last one. Like clearly losing Bruce last weekend was turbulent as a mother. So, by the way, you should probably listen to the episode before this one, titled Little Bruce's Big Adventure, before listening to today's show. Just in case that wasn't obvious already. Not everybody listens in order, I guess. Anyway, just as a note. And I'm still very much recovering from the drama of all that, you know. I know Hero Jared is too. That's what I'm calling J-Bone from now on, by the way. Hero Jared. That would be Jared's rapper name. Hero Jared. Why does there's not a rapper that does that? You know how they'll do like Lil or Young? There needs to be a hero. I need a hero. So anyway, today I just wanted to get loose. I'm happy to have my family intact. My dog Bruce back. He's in the studio again with me today, him and Bella, his sister. I'm feeling good. We got a long weekend ahead of us, so let's just fuck around. Am I right? Oh, I got a lot of feedback about airplane pilots, by the way. It turns out takeoff and landing are the most difficult and challenging parts of piloting an airplane, pretty much regardless of what kind of plane you're in. So, obviously, the conditions like wind and weather greatly impact the degree of difficulty. But it's funny because takeoff and landing are, for whatever reason, actually when I feel like this, that's when I feel the safest. I feel safest closest to the ground, right? Like the argument I've made before is when I'm in an airplane, I end up feeling like it's not natural that we're up here. You know what I mean? It's like how people will say marijuana is okay because it grows in the ground, it's natural, it comes from the earth. Like, I argue that flying an airplane is not okay because it's not natural. I don't know that God intended us to be 30,000 feet in the air. For some reason, like going on a rocket ship to outer space makes more sense to me as an idea than like using an airplane for air travel. I just don't, it doesn't seem that safe to me. I don't know. Maybe I was like, I was in high school when 9/11 happened, you know, so I was old enough to really know what was happening, and maybe that just like permanently traumatized me in terms of air travel or something. Because I haven't been comfortable on an airplane since, man. It's something about travel in general I'm not comfortable with, though, because I get anxiety and have panic attacks when I'm driving, as anybody who's listened to every episode of this show would know. Not that you should have, I'm just saying. It's not like I'm just throwing that out there. Like, everybody should know it. Like, people, I talk about it a lot. And, yeah, so maybe I have some kind of issue with flying the same way I do with driving. It's not as bad, granted. It's kind of like I get the same level of anxiety when I fly that I do when I'm a passenger in a car. Because I'm not actually in control of what's going to happen, but it really just, like, my brain is a pain in the ass, man. Because when, like, for instance, looking for Bruce, okay, my brain was honest with itself about the mathematical odds of us finding him, and that was devastating. Yet, when I'm in an airplane, I know the mathematical odds of us crashing are insanely low. Yet, they might as well be 50-50. Like, seriously, when I'm on an airplane, my brain treats it like there's a 50-50 chance of survival. Like, there's a 50% chance that we make it to our destination. Like, that's, in terms of anxiety, where I'm at when I'm on an airplane. It's It's not great. Like, I thank God every time we land. I'm like, we did it. We did it. Look at it. It was almost like when we found Bruce. Like when we land, to everybody on the plane, I'm like fist bumping. I don't stand up. I stay seated. But just to the people I can reach. It's a celebration, bitches. We survived. We might as well have just been through like a battle and a war. That's what I treat landing on the runway like. Seriously, it's my favorite part of flying is landing, which it turns out is actually one of the more dangerous parts of being on an airplane. So now that's been sullied for me. So this is why you shouldn't ask questions. This is why they say ignorance is bliss. Let me rephrase. You should ask questions. But this is why they say ignorance is bliss. Because sometimes the more you look into something, it maybe will make you more comfortable with it. But sometimes the more you look into something, it gets even more terrifying and scary in my brain. Like, I can't even hold my wife's hand on an airplane because my palms are way too sweaty and clammy, and it's awkward. I feel like a big old ball of slime. My feet sweat bullets too, which is like, I sweat when it's hot outside now. I'm no longer a non-sweat boy. I'm definitely a sweat boy. I sweat when sweat is needed. I used to have an issue with this. It's like some weird genetic thing, but like growing up in Houston, especially when I was in high school baseball as an example, when we'd go to practice in the 110-degree fucking sweltering summer heat and we'd have to run miles or whatever, our coaches would physically abuse us and verbally abuse us while we had to run or whatever. I wouldn't sweat, so I'd get really, really overheated, and it was bad. My mom has this issue too. But as I've gotten older, like now I'm in my mid-30s, global warming or whatever. So like that, now I sweat, but I'm still not, I'm not used to not sweating unless I'm like doing shit outdoors. This is just sitting there on an airplane, sweating profusely through my hands and my feet. And it's just grody. I don't love it. That's why I wear the Yeezy foam runners when I fly. Because they're the greatest airplane shoe ever made. And if you're sitting there like, nah, man, sandals or Yeezy slides or like Crocs, fuck all that. You need more protection. I don't want my toesy woesies and my heel like touching up on other people or their shit. And the Yeezy slide or the Yeezy foam or the Yeezy slide does not give you enough coverage. Sandals don't give you enough coverage. The foam runners give you the perfect amount of coverage while also being extremely breathable. Speaking of which, holy shit, Kanye West is back at it again with the Instagram. But before I get to yay, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to play daily fantasy, but I get it. If you don't know what to expect, getting started on a new sports gaming app can be a little bit stressful. Here's a super quick step-by-step guide to registering on Prize Picks and placing your first entry so you can just focus on having fun and winning big. You register for an account on prizepicks.com, make a deposit, and pick more or less. All right, you're either picking more or less on 2 to 5 player stats to win payouts of up to 10x. So you pick 2 to 5 players, and if they will score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10x your money on any entry. You're not competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch, right? Football season just started. We're all very excited that college football is back, that the NFL's around the corner. NBA season's not that far from kicking off. Major League Baseball is heating up. They've got everything you want. NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. I mean, every sports category you could possibly imagine. You can do a Prize Picks for whatever. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. It's safe and fast withdrawals on prizepicks.com. Currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code RBP. So if you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. So you double your money to play with. Don't forget to enter promo code RBP at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100 on prizepicks.com or with the Prize Picks app. All right, look, I don't care if he's a genius. Kanye West is truly a piece of work asshole. Like, dude, he put up a post. He's back on Instagram, like I said, and he's just spamming just throwing them out. And like he ends up deleting them. So if you're getting on Instagram right now hoping to see everything I discussed today, you're probably not going to, because he's deleted a whole bunch of the posts because the dude is just, okay, he's just put up another one an hour ago. Idea. This is basically what he's doing. Him and his wife, ex-wife, Kim Kardashian, I don't know if they're legally divorced now. I know she's legally single. Formerly Kim Kardashian West. If she hasn't changed it, I'm not sure if she has or not. They're having an argument, a personal argument, as it were, about where their children should be educated. Now, that argument between two parents, I, as a regular person, I can't think of a reason why you would take that argument to the internet streets. Because, you know, it's about your kids, and it doesn't make sense to make it public, and it's a totally reasonable thing for two parents to disagree about. You're just then supposed to have to work through that and come to a compromise, which is like 99% of marriage, which is probably why theirs didn't work out. But Kanye doesn't seem to understand that, because his most recent Instagram says, idea, kids, 2 days at Donda, which is where he wants to send them to school, which is the organization he's created named after his mother, and 3 at Sierra Canyon, which is where Kim wants them to go to school. Or 3 days at Donda and 2 at Sierra Canyon, including field trips, busing to educational places. And then he captioned it, this is co-parenting. And it's not. That's not co-parenting. It's psychotic harassment. Look, I'm a mental health guy. I know what it looks like to feel a manic episode. All right, when I was coming off of SSRIs, I had a whole bunch of them, and it was fucking awful. I'd never had one before that, haven't had one since. But those, man, I felt like what I have to imagine is pretty similar to what it feels like to be bipolar, because bipolar people deal with often those manic depressive states, and you have these crazy, crazy highs where what I would call, these are the episodes where your emotions are completely out of whack. You're pretty detached from reality, and you can't really make decisions like as clearly as you normally would. Now, obviously, at no point during my stint in that state did I ever decide to do a whole bunch of crazy stuff that negatively impacted other people publicly on social media. So I'm still not saying I excuse his behavior. What I'm saying is, I'm a mental health guy. I get it. I understand maybe what Kanye might be going through in terms of his mental health. It's clear to me that he's not okay, but not being okay doesn't excuse harming other people. It doesn't excuse harming other people. It doesn't excuse harassing other people. It's fucking crazy. Like, he put up a post asking Pete Davidson how that tattoo of his kids' names felt in the trauma unit. Like, that's not only harassment. It's like borderline. I mean, that's like almost evil. Like, bro, you shouldn't, you as a mental health guy, you don't make jokes about people in like suicidal tendencies, or that tried to kill themselves, or that have issues with, like, they have to be in a trauma unit, or you just don't make jokes about people's trauma, frankly. Like, it's not really cool. It's not a cool thing to do. It's not funny. Jokes, you see, are supposed to be funny. So, like, this guy's sense of humor, the way he thinks he's, like, getting shots in here, like, I don't know who he thinks this is cool. Like, anybody that would think this is cool is a fucking idiot, and you don't really want as a fan anyway, unless I guess you're so detached from reality at this point that you don't care, which is where he seems to be. And he keeps making the excuse and putting it all into the guise of, like, you don't know what it's like to be me and have to go up against all these corporations and have everybody be against you. Like, bro, do you really think the rest of us are down here feeling like all the fucking government and organizations are all with us and rooting for us every day and trying to throw money at us and give us access to things? We're in the same fucking boat. We understand. And look, I'm not saying I know what it's like to be a black man in America. I obviously do not, as a white dude. But there are levels to that shit for everybody. For every living human, there are definitely, the system isn't set up to benefit anybody that's not already at the top. And he's trying to say that because the system is oppressing him, that we should understand his harassment of his ex-wife and the damage he's doing to his kids. That's an argument that only a person who's experiencing a total detachment from reality could even go and make. It's not cool. I had to unfollow him again. I can't watch this shit show. The damage he's doing to his kids is completely insane to me. It's like if I had kids with my ex and then routinely used my platform to flame her decision-making, family and friends. Like, I doubt very many people or the legal system would be okay with that. And trust me, I considered it. But we didn't have kids together, thank the gods. And I would never, ever, ever, ever do that if we had, because of the kids. You don't want to mess up your kids, man. The irony of this dude mocking Pete Davidson for needing therapeutic help while he's actively doing things that will undoubtedly cause his kids to need therapy one day should not be lost on anyone. Anyway, Kanye West is a total dick. It sucks. As a fan of the man's music, pre him becoming a gospel artist, which doesn't line up, by the way. That's the other side of this. It makes him such a hypocrite, bro. How the fuck are you going to crank out 3 consecutive Jesus albums and then mock somebody for needing psychiatric care? Does that strike you as something your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ would have done? Did you find a passage in the Bible that the rest of us are unaware of where Jesus mocks somebody going through some shit? I just don't. I've read the Bible. I don't recall that particular passage. The dude doesn't fucking get it. He's full of it. He's full of shit. You know how he like all this stuff. It's like, you know what? I'm going to bring Jay-Z into this because Jay-Z's crazy ass got on fucking Twitter Spaces this week and tried to argue. I guess he was upset with people have figured out how much money he has, and him and Beyonce combined, and they're upset with that because people aren't huge fans of billionaires in 2022. Like the general populace on the whole is not, right? And he basically argued like, you can't say eat the rich to me because I did this for everybody. Like, I don't really know what he's arguing. It was like Jay-Z was trying to be like, no, but that doesn't apply to me. And it does apply to you. It applies to everybody. And somebody put up a clip of Tupac Shakur, rest in peace, when he was still with us, in the studio, basically arguing the opposite of what Jay-Z argued on Twitter Spaces. And now I kind of see like where Kanye got this from because, and I'm not saying that confusion doesn't exist for a reason. And I don't understand that too on some level, but like, it's just so off base. It's so off base. His religious beliefs are off base. His beliefs about the way capitalism works are off base. His beliefs about the way family works are off base. He's completely freaking lost in the dark at this point. And it's sad to see. Because he was a great artist. He still is a great artist in some ways. But he's just a total piece of shit. And look, I'm getting better at removing the artists from their art. Because the more I look at art, the more I realize it's like 90% of artists that are actually like in some way condemnable or cancelable, or like we wouldn't have any art if we didn't get to enjoy. Like I was watching a Quentin Tarantino movie the other day, and you know every Tarantino movie, when you start it, it's like the Weinstein Company in huge fucking their logo. And you're just it's kind of a bummer every time it happens, but I'm like, oh, look, I can't care about this. There's too much other shit. So I'm getting better at that. It's not like I can't like go and listen to Kanye's old records. It's not like with Michael Jackson where I'm like, nope, that's too far, that's crossed the line. Or like R. Kelly where that's too far, that's crossed the line. I'm not saying there's not a line. I don't go watch the fucking Cosby Show anymore. But with Kanye, it's like he's still not quite there. So I can go listen to music that was made before he went off the deep end and still enjoy it. But anything from like this latest era, like I can't go listen to Hurricane anymore and like jam out to Lil Baby fucking going off on that first verse because this guy is a literally abusive asshole. It stinks. And a few weeks ago, I bitched and moaned like an impotent jerk about the fact that like we just have terrible fucking role models as a society. Like our celebrity culture is so toxic and poison that there's not even anybody like, you know how many fucking stars I've had to watch fall from grace that used to be in my top fucking 3? I think it's all 3. I mean, I can't think of the third one right now, but at least 2 of the people that were the most important, like creators in the world to me were Kanye West and Dave Chappelle. And it's not that Chappelle's like completely fallen from grace. I just have no fucking idea what he's doing. Like I don't have a single excuse for why somebody would do as many bits about a single community as that guy had. I just don't understand it. Like what he's done with the trans stuff makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. It has not connected with me in any way, shape, or form. The way he's leaned into like this weird alt-right Joe Rogan fucking space is really disappointing. It stinks. I fucking hate it. It makes me sick. And then there's Ye. And I feel for Pete, man. Like, look, anybody who doesn't understand why Pete Davidson dated Kim Kardashian is not very smart. Or you're not thinking about it hard enough at the very least. Think about this dude's career. Now think about if he actually liked her. I'm gonna write that off though. Let's say he didn't like her. Let's say there's no emotional connection and he was just like seeing what could happen. Just from a professional standpoint, this man is now his brand. Like how much it costs to book Pete Davidson has probably tripled. He's starring in movies. He's walking away from SNL. He's getting projects pitched to him probably fucking constantly. He became one of the most famous people in Hollywood, which is where his career operates. From a career standpoint, it was the best decision he's ever made. Now, from a personal standpoint, hopefully it didn't do too much damage. Getting her kids' names tattooed on him, as we said on the show, it was a little bit of a, questionable decision. But I'm not a tattoo guy, so I'm not going to sit here and rant and rave like I know what the fuck the line is. So the point is, Kim Kardashian is an insanely good-looking person. She is. And on some level, she seems like she's probably pretty smart. Now, she doesn't present that way on TV, but I think that's intentional. And most of her career has been a weird manipulation by her mother, so I really can't get a feel for how big of a piece of shit she is or isn't. But regardless, I get it from Pete's perspective. Can't believe 9/11 came up twice on today's show. Pete Davidson, by the way, people forget this, lost his father on 9/11. That's a crazy, crazy Pete Davidson fact that just every time his name is mentioned pops into my head. Just wild. But yeah, it's a sad story. It's a ridiculous situation, and Kanye's got to be wrangled in. I don't know how it happens, but he got too much money. He's also just constantly flaming the companies he works with now. Everyone's aware that he has an enormous deal with Adidas. That's where Yeezy is housed and made. Everyone is aware he has an enormous deal with Gap. That's where he put out $300 puffy jackets that make you look like the fucking Michelin Man. And he's on social media attacking both of those companies for 2 weeks straight. It's like he's trying to get sued or get out of his deal. I can't really tell. Or just testing the boundary. He's like a fucking toddler, dude. He's just testing the boundaries, constantly seeing what he can get away with. It has to be the most frustrating thing in the world. And again, I have to give huge props to Adidas because they've been dealing with this for years. And they basically just ignored the guy. One of the things Kanye is complaining about with Adidas is that they're taking his designs and then they're basically doing what he calls knockoffs, which are like other designs that were inspired by Yeezy that fall under the regular Adidas brand that Kanye doesn't get a cut of. Every design house in the fucking world does that. Nike does that more than anybody. He doesn't have another option to work with that's not going to do that. That's part of the game. Every design Kanye has ever put out was inspired by something else. That's how fucking art works. And nobody knows that better than the man who built their musical career on sampling other people's music. He's a hypocrite. In an inexcusable way. Fuck that guy. Oh, by the way, I was thinking about moving on. The other day, I think I was on Twitter. Oh, no, it was Instagram that brought this up. Instagram was serving way too many ads. It was every third scroll, you'd hit an ad, and we were all complaining, right? And I think it's gotten a little better since then, perhaps. But they were clearly trying to hit some type of quota, like when the police need to write as many tickets as possible at the end of the month, and they're just pulling everybody over. Instagram was doing that with ads. And everybody was complaining, and it just made me start thinking about our current 2022, modern look at marketing, the way we treat commercials and ads as this nuisance, right? We want to avoid them at all costs. We want streaming that doesn't have commercials. We don't want ads on our social media. We don't want to see ads anywhere. I have a buddy that mutes the TV commercials on NFL Sunday because he doesn't want his mind like poisoned by the marketing. And it's funny because I don't like understand. We live in a capitalistic society, folks. Like the reason I did an ad read earlier is because if I don't, then the show doesn't exist. So if you want the show, you have to take the marketing that goes with it. And that's the same thing for NFL Sunday. It's the same thing for fucking TV shows, for Hulu, for whatever. We have to have the ads. It's a massive. If we didn't do any advertising, then nobody spends any money, and the economy fucking dies. And then what? It's just like it's a weird thing to bitch about because it's actively what we're doing here. Like our whole society is built around a need for people to spend and buy and consume. And I'm not saying that's not problematic, but it is the current state of American fucking society. So we can't exactly do away with all the ads, or I'm out of a job, at the very least. And I guess there are ways around it. There's there's ways around it. I'm not saying there aren't. Obviously, HBO doesn't have any advertising in their programming, right? When you're watching House of the Dragon, you don't have to put up with a 30-second commercial for fucking The Rock and Kevin Hart's latest movie, but you're paying a premium subscription price for that service. Just like if you want ad-free episodes of RBP, you can get them on patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast. And this wasn't meant to be a plug for Patreon, but it just ended up happening that way. But go to patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast to get ad-free episodes of RBP. They're awesome. I love them. They're great. But anyway, it just occurred to me like our mood on marketing is in 2022 is like real toxic. Like we're all just like, get these ads and commercials the fuck out of here. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, I get we don't want too many of them. We don't want Instagram 3 weeks ago or whenever that was, but like we do need them in some capacity. I'm not saying that you know, it would be okay for me to have put 5 ad reads in today's episode, but 1 is okay. 1 is okay. We're trying to build a business here. It's a company. Bolenmedia.com. Buy some merch. Bolenmedia.com/shop. I can't remember if I told y'all this, but my new house, it backs up to, oh yeah, I definitely told y'all this because I talked about it on the podcast about Bruce going missing and then being found miraculously. It backs up to like a park, let's just put it that way. But the important part is that if you go probably 20 yards outside my back fence and you turn right, you're staring at a giant clearing, with over the forest and over the trees, and you can see directly into the massive Texas sky. And at night, every night, you get the sunset right there. And I don't know if you get it all year long right there, and I'm not sure how any of that works. And if you're a science major or one of those smart people who knows about like hemispheres and the equator and shit, shut the fuck up. Just let me say my story. I don't know if the sunset's always going to be right there, but so far, every day that I've lived at this house, at about 7:30, 8:15, I don't know, it's a different time. That definitely changes. The time changes. I know that, nerds. And there's a beautiful, gorgeous, incredible sunset. They vary every day. Sunsets are like snowflakes. You get a different one every time. And I've become obsessed with sunsets as a result. And then now, what I'm arguing today is that sunsets are, in fact, an aphrodisiac. Because I am horny for sunsets. And you know how there's not that many things that are not human beings that you get aroused by sexually, or that you should get aroused by sexually, right? Like there's not, like, I know some of y'all are listening and are like, well, I really like watching those porns where Peter Griffin bangs Brian, and it's like, yeah, okay, you're fucking, you've got some issues that you should probably work out. But like there's not that many things, and some of you are like thinking about like all right, I'm not even going to go there, but there's not that many things. But sunsets for me are one of them, where I'm like, this is literally arousing. Because it's so fucking beautiful. And there's not that many things that make me feel as connected to the world as a sunset. The ocean is definitely one of them. Oceans are my thing. But now sunsets are up there too, as like pieces of the natural world that make me incredibly incredibly horny. I meant happy, but also horny. I love natural stuff, you know? That's why let's take it back to nature. It's not natural to be 30,000 feet in the air. It's natural to be in your backyard enjoying a beautiful sunset with your cock in your hand. I'm kidding about that last part. Anyway, thank you for being here today. I know it was a weird one. I wanted to have some fun. And I accomplished that for myself. Minus the Kanye West stuff. That's deeply upsetting. That dude stinks. Thanks for listening to our show. As I said, new episodes of the Formula Bone F1 show come out every week during the F1 season. If a race happened, there's a recap podcast coming, obviously hosted by hero Jared Borslow. And if a race is about to happen, there's a preview podcast for you to listen to on the Formula Bone F1 show, available wherever you listen to the Ross Bolen podcast. If you are a House of the Dragon fan or watched Game of Thrones and loved it, even if you hated the last season or two, even if you hated the finale, House of the Dragon is awesome. It's on HBO right now. 2 episodes are out. Go and watch it and listen to our companion podcast, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. Go to bolenmedia.com/shop. Grab yourself a Year of the Dog t-shirt with Bruce and Bella's beautiful faces on it. Get yourself an RBP hat, some Formula Bone merch, OCC merch. We got a great little store there for you on bolenmedia.com/shop. That's BOLEN media.com/SHOP. And what else? I think that's it for me. I'm going to do another episode today with Serena from LA, one of Jared and I's dear friends and co-hosts from Freeze All Motor Functions, our Westworld podcast, which is no longer in season, but is amazing nonetheless. For everybody on patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast, the episode with me and Serena from LA will be available later today. But yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the show. Thanks for telling your friends and family about RBP and everything that we've got going here at Bolen Media. It means a lot to me. I am Ross Bolen, and until next time, peace be with you and also with you.